Welcome to another TIPShot video from TIP Technologies. Today we're going to see how easy it is to add a user ID in TIPQA. Every TIPQA user needs a user ID. These were set up when you went live, but maybe the administrator has since retired. To add a new user, go to the Access Control module and navigate to Process, Login ID Setup. Click the orange plus at the top of the screen. This allows you to insert a new record. The login ID is mandatory as indicated by the red border. It's an 8-character alphanumeric field that identifies you in the TIPQA system. The login alias is available for those using single sign-on that have a network username longer than 8 characters. The user's name, phone number and extension, inspection stamp if they have one, and email are entered next. The email can be used by the TIPQA system to notify users of newly assigned work, upcoming or past due deadlines. Country codes are used for validating export licenses and country of origin control. Records such as login ID, export license, and part number may be affiliated with a country code to aid in managing export licenses. To insert a country code, click the orange plus and choose a country. One or more countries may be associated with this user ID. This area in the lower left corner is where you configure this user ID to be able to receive documents assigned from various modules. Your choice of modules here will depend on the modules you are currently using and the modules this user ID will have access to. The user access control is where you set the password for the user ID. You'll authenticate yourself, then create the password. You can force the user to change the password upon first login as well. This is also where you go to reset a user's password. If this user is also a buyer or planner in your ERP system, their ERP IDs can be populated here. This lets TIPQA users who don't know the ERP IDs in imported records identify that user easily. Security groups define access permission throughout all the modules. A user ID must be associated with at least one security group. That user then takes on the permissions in the system defined by that group. To add a security group, click the orange plus. After the query window appears, clicking OK will display the security group list. I'm going to select one for quality engineering. The green check mark saves the record and associates this user with the chosen security group. Users can be members of more than one security group. The Current Business Unit tab allows you to associate this user to the currently logged in business unit by checking the Allow Access to Current Business Unit box. The All Business Units button shows which business units in the database this user has access to. This user ID can be matched to a title or occupation that exists in the title occupation list. Click the 3-dot ellipsis to the right of the field and query. You'll get a list to choose from. Choose the appropriate row and click OK. Clicking on the ellipsis allows you to query for the user ID of this user's supervisor. When populating user IDs, it's advised to start at the top of the organizational structure and work down so the user ID of the supervisor will be available to choose when you add this user. For users who will be administrators for one or more of the modules, checking the boxes here allows them access to maintain security access for that module. This user ID will only have access to the suppliers listed here. This can be utilized when this login ID is for a supplier to log in through the portal. Leaving the list blank will not restrict any suppliers from this user ID. The Project Access tab functions similar to the Supplier tab, but it has Allow Deny capability. Any projects listed in the TIPQA grid allows or restricts this user ID based on the setting for the Project Access box. To add projects, click the plus, search for and populate with a project or projects, then save. The Export License tab shows which licenses, if any, are associated with this user ID. The country code associated with this user ID, any export license, and any parts in the item master are all used together to aid in export control. Thank you for listening to this tip shot on adding a user ID. To learn more about TIPQA, the QMS software solution, please visit www.tiptech.com. Thank you.